Om Paramtattvai Naranay Gurubhyo Namaha. Jai Gurudev. So today we are here to talk a bit more detail about Lord Kal Bhairav and also Batuk Bhairav, another popular form of Bhairav. In the part one series, I already briefly touched upon who Kal Bhairav is. I've also talked about his Kal Bhairav Ashtakam along with meanings. Hopefully, you all have had the chance to understand the meaning of Kal Bhairav Ashtakam, also understand the benefits of reading the Kal Bhairav Ashtakam. It's one thing to read, but really, if you understand fully the meaning of Kal Bhairav and what he really denotes and what he really is versus what we really see on internet are two different things. And of course, reciting the Ashtakam gives tremendous results in both our material life as well as our spiritual life. Um, Make sure that you are slowly trying to understand the essence of Bhairav Tattva and not just looking at the ferocious images that is often circulated on the internet, and but the reality is far from what we see. Kal Bhairav is definitely very, very pleasing, very benevolent, very helpful, and very loving. In the Kalbhairav Ashtakam, I spoke about his Bhaktavatsal, means he's very pleased with his devotees. He can easily be captured by his devotees. So, and of course, he's Jnana Mukti Sadhana, means he's here to give us knowledge. He's he's here to give us liberation, mukti. He's here to give us liberation from all the bondages, liberation from all the cycles and cycles of life and death that we souls have been going through. So the one who can liberate us, the one who can give us that final moksha is Kalbhairav. So today we'll talk about some of the legends and some of the stories with the origin of Kalbhairav. So, as we read in our Puranas, once upon a time there was a kind of a discussion, say a healthy debate between Brahma and Vishnu, each trying to superimpose their own greatness and each trying to prove to the other that I am greater than you, I am much better than you. Brahma says that I am the creator of this universe, I know it all. Without me, this universe will never come into action. Nobody knows the art of creation. And then Vishnu, of course, counteracts, saying that while you may know the creation, you do not know the maintenance. I'm the one who sustains it, I'm the one who maintains it. It's one thing creating something, but it's a completely different thing knowing how to nurture and how to grow it and how to sustain it and how to keep the balance. Just like any mother, right? Like we give birth, but it's also a responsibility to sustain that little soul, right? You would never see somebody who just gave birth and abandons and moves on and then does not want to sustain, right? So of course, process of growing is one part of it is giving birth, other part of it is sustaining it. It's hard to tell which one is greater than the other because giving birth, because if you don't give birth, you cannot sustain. But if you give birth, you have to sustain as well. So there is no real comparison. So between Brahma and Vishnu, there was this discussion, and then Shiva appears, and there are all these other devatas and ganas, and they say that, oh, you both are wrong. The only greatest god is, or the one who's the greatest is Lord Shiva. And while this discussion was going on, a huge beam of light appears, and from the beam of light appears a little boy who appeared from Shiva, and that boy was Bhairav. And as Bhairav appeared, he saw Brahma and Vishnu arguing, while Vishnu was agreeing to the fact that yes, Shiva is greater or Shiva is the greatest, Brahma continued with his negative vocabulary against Shiva. He continued insulting Shiva. He continued humiliating Shiva. And of course, Bhairav did not like it. And in that moment of anger, in that moment of wrath, Bhairav used his little pinky finger, the nail of his little pinky finger, and cut off Brahma's head. So that was the main origin here at this point of Bhairav, that he appeared from Shiva in a small uh, form, and he in that moment of anger, he was Ugra's form. He was a little fiery form of Shiva, and while he couldn't tolerate anybody speaking anything ill about Shiva, he uses his nail of his little pinky finger and he destroys one head of Brahma. Now, that one head of Brahma, while he destroyed it, it is definitely considered as Brahma Hatya. In our scriptures as well, we read about this, that Brahma Hatya, which means killing a rishi or killing a Brahm or killing who is a Brahma Jnani, is definitely very grave sin. It is impossible to find liberation from this sin. It is one of the the most ghastly sins that one could commit. And as Bhairav committed the sin, Shiva then tells him that you committed a really grave sin. Now you take this head of Brahma, because it was already stuck with Bhairav, and go around the world, try to find a place where the head automatically falls off from your head, and whichever place that happens where the Brahma head automatically falls off will be your place, will be your residing place. You will be the main controller of that place. So the story continues that Brahma goes around, Bhairav goes around the entire universe and with the Brahma's head. And as he enters the city of Varanasi, as we say in the shloka, Varanasyam Bhairavam Devam Sansara Bhainashanam. So he enters the city of Varanasi or Kashi, and Bhairav's Brahma's head automatically drops off at that place. So since then, Bhairav is considered to be residing there. Bhairav is considered to be the supreme deity, the supreme protector of the city of Kashi. And once that happened, Bhairav was free from the sin of Brahmahatya, and he is he is the Lord of Mukti. He is the giver of Bhukti Mukti Dayakam. He gives bhukti, he gives material pleasure, luxuries, the bhoga part of our lives, and also mukti. He also is the mukti giver. He also liberates all the people who come to Kashi and take his darshan. So, if we really go to understanding the essence of this whole Brahma Hatya, this whole killing of his head, it really goes much deeper than just two people arguing and then somebody just appears and he cuts off his head and then he goes to Kashi. Life is not that simple. So the way we understood is Brahma, when he was talking full of arrogance and full of ego. And usually, head represents that arrogance and ego. All that ego, everything comes from our thoughts, comes from our mind. It is all sitting here, right? So it signifies that one who is full of ahankar, one whose head is full of ahankar, one who is full of himself, like always talking extremely, I would say, in vain, highly of himself or herself, trying to put down others, always humiliating others, trying to always insult others, will definitely incur the wrath of Lord Bhairav. So Bhairav destroys the ego, the Bhairav destroys the false illusions that each one of us have, and Bhairav destroys the ego so he can help us with liberation and attain the final enlightenment. Because the only thing that comes between a Jivatma and the Paramatma is the ego, is the I, is the Ahankar, is the identity that we have with ourselves. So Brahma again is the one he doesn't appreciate ahankar, he doesn't appreciate any of these aprad such as brahma hatya or putting down others or humiliating others. So he is also called as the Kotwal. He's called Kashi Kotwal. He is Kotwal as in the court, the Supreme Court, the Lord of Justice. Shani is also the Lord of Justice in the planetary positions, and Kal Bhairav is also the Lord of Justice. So he delivers the real actions, the real results based on the good and the bad actions. And Kal Bhairav is the protector of Kashi. He was appointed as the Dwarpal of Kashi. So whoever enters Kashi, remember that we are all protected because Supreme Kal Bhairav Ji, who is nothing but Shiva himself, is residing there. So I do want to point out as I talk about Kashi is it is definitely one of the most powerful, one of the most sacred places in the entire universe. The place which has Ganga flowing, the place which has Kashi Vishwanath. Vishwanath means he's Vishwa means the entire universe. He's the Nath, he's the Lord of the entire universe. Not to mention our dear Bhairav is also there. So definitely a very, very Punya Pavan Tirtha Kshetra, Kashi. And as I was talking about Kal Bhairav, it does um, kind of lead me into one discussion where when we go to Kashi, we must treat it as a place where we are going to Bhairava's own house. We are going to Shiva's house. We are going to the house which is protected by Bhairav. Like I said, he is the protector, he is the Dwarpal, he is there as a security. So security of who? Security of Kashi Kshetra for sure, but security of also his devotees. He, once you enter Kashi, you are under his responsibility. He is responsible to make sure that each one of us are protected. Whoever is going to take darshan of Kashi and Kal Bhairav and Vishwanath Ji or Ganga Maya. So he's protecting us. He's taking care of us. He's taken the full responsibility of us. But in return, what is our responsibility and what are we accountable for? So my request to everyone would be as we go to Kashi, as we go to any Punya Kshetras, I would say, but because in this context we are talking about Kal Bhairav and Kashi, we must make an attempt to treat it like we are going to our own father's house. You know, when you go to your own parents' house, you're very nice and you want to be very happy, and you also want to keep them happy. And you're going to Kashi, which is Kal Bhairav's house, which is Kal Bhairav's land. So you do make sure that you keep it clean, you keep it pious the way it is. We go to Kashi thinking that I'm going to go take a dip in the Ganga and she's going to absolve or wash away all my sins. While she's doing it, of course, but in return, we should also show some gratitude. I think gratitude is a great practice that each one of us must follow and observe and implement it. So, our real little acts of kindness and gratitude, in terms of also making sure that we are not, um, creating impurities in the Ganga River, or we are not disturbing the nature, or we are not disturbing the land, or we are not littering the place. I often see people litter, like they eat something, they throw away, they litter, they don't even blink an eye, and they throw water bottles, and there's so much plastic dump everywhere. So it is really our responsibility, and it is very little that we can do while we expect for Ganga to wash away our sins, for Kal Bhairav to take away all our papas and give us liberation, for Vishwanath Ji. I mean, he's the most simplest God that can be easily pleased. He's not even asking for anything. All he wants is a little water. Even if we don't give water, he's always ready to just bless. But our little things that we should really also do is treat it like he's Kal Bhairav's house, and when you go to, let's say, a very illustrious person's house, let's say you go to your own boss's house, your boss invites you over for dinner or lunch at their place, you tell me how well behaved you're going to be. You're going to be like, And if there's a security guard standing in front of that house, you're gonna be extremely well kept. First of all, you will dress up very nice. You will be very well kept. You will make sure you don't annoy the security. You will definitely go through the right protocols to pass through the security, because if you irk the security even a little bit, you are definitely going to get it done and you're not going to get entry into the main gate to be able to meet your boss, right? So you will definitely try to keep the security happy, and once you enter the house, you will be like trying to keep it, you will do very little to disturb the way the things are organized in the house, the way the piece, everything, right? You will keep your shoes in place. You will walk very gently. You will speak very softly. You will sit very quietly, and you will be in your most well behaved form. Maybe sometimes your own relatives will be shocked, like, oh my God, is that you? Like, oh, just 30 minutes back at home, you were a completely different person, right? But suddenly I see you a completely different person. But it is what it is, right? When you go to some supreme person's house, like who is really above and beyond, and who's really the ruler of that place, you definitely will be very, very gentle and very organized, and you will definitely try to please this person, and also to keep the place clean. You will never leave that place in a mess, right? Even when you eat, you leave the place. You will make sure you keep everything tidy before you leave the place. Of course, some people are exception. When they go to somebody's house, they destroy their house as well. But here I'm talking about, let's say you went to your boss's house, so it's very rare that somebody can dare go to a boss house and destroy it. So especially now when you go to Kashi as well, you think of it as going to the supreme, the universe's boss's house. So how will you treat his house, right? So you will treat it with respect. You will treat it just like your own house, and make every attempt to keep Kashi clean, make every attempt to keep it pure, because anything that you do remember that he is the protector, and if the security guard is not happy, you're gonna get his danda, and he will definitely, you know, give us a gentle, you know, tap on our wrist. If it's a small mistake, but if it's a big mistake, I mean, yes, then he'll definitely take your case for a long time, and you don't want that. Trust me. So that is what our Kal Bhairav Ji is about. So make sure that you lead a very ahankar rahit, like my Guruji always taught us, and it is our three main sutras of Guruji's teachings. Is one of them is to live a life full free of ego, to be ego free. So one of the important things we also learn from Kal Bhairav is, if you have ahankar, if you put down others, if you find a way to humiliate others, Kal Bhairav ji is definitely gonna show his true form on you as well. So live a ego free life and live a very simple life. And life is too short. There is not really much time for ego and fights and all that bitterness in life. So that is about Kal Bhairav. From Kal Bhairav, so that was the main Utpatti, and Kashi is his main kshetra. The other big kshetra of Kal Bhairav ji is also Ujjain. So anybody who is getting into Kal Bhairav sadhana, or who has already done years and years of sadhana, definitely recommended to visit two places. One is Kashi for Kal Bhairav ji, and one is also Ujjain, where there is definitely the Bhairav ji is very powerful. Uh, go for any manokamna, go for any wishes that you have, for the right wishes, not for anything ill or negative of others or anything. Like I said, I think karma goes both ways, and Bhairavji is not dumb to just give you whatever you ask for. As much as he is your deity, he's also deity to everybody else. So uh, ask for whatever is favorable for you, whatever is good for you. So two places, very powerful. The other form of Bhairav is Batuk Bhairav. Batuk Bhairav is a small child-like form of Bhairav. Very, very cute, very sweet, and he's the sattvic form of Bhairav. Generally with Kal Bhairav, often there is a tamasic and as well as a rajasic style of Archana Puja as well. And definitely there's some Vamacharya aspect to where people do offer alcohol and meat and, sometimes other prohibited or forbidden things that usually we don't follow in our line of Bhairav Sadhana that we learn under Guruji. But for Batuk Bhairav especially, and especially for people who are very new to Bhairav Sadhana, who are not yet at Kal Bhairav's level, they can definitely get started with Batuk Bhairav Sadhana. It's a very simple sadhana. He's again a child form of Bhairav, can very easily be pleased. Um, and just like we have the Batuk, the Bal form or the child form of Krishna, we have the child form of Bal Ganpati, we call it. We have the child form of Tripur Sundari, the Bala Tripur Sundari. Uh, similarly, we have a child form of Bhairav, which is Batuk Bhairav. It is open to everyone. So whoever is starting, whoever wants to get immediate benefits of Bhairav Sadhana, who wants to get any kind of manokamna siddhi, any kind of wishes to be fulfilled, the good ones, the ones that are good as Bhairav thinks it is, not what I think is good. Those people definitely can get into Batuk Bhairav sadhana. So beyond Kal Bhairav, I explained the Utpatti, I explained origin, I explained what Ahankar is, I explained what ego is. Similar to Kali, we see she who dispels the illusions, she who dispels the ego, she who liberates us from these false identity of ego that we have and takes us to the highest realms of realization. Similar is what Kal Bhairav is. Again, he is Shiva. Shiva and Shakti are always together, which takes me to the next discussion about Shakti and Bhairav. So you must have heard of this, story as well, where Sati, who was once she, you know, burned herself in the Daksha Yajna because she felt disrespected, that Shiva was not invited. You guys know the background. I will not get into details. And once Shiva finds out, he takes Sati's body and he kind of travels around. And then Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra goes around and it kind of starts to cut Sati's body into pieces, into small parts, and every part then fell into 51 Shakti Pithas. So those Pithas where Sati's parts fell, those 51 Pithas where Ma Sati's parts fell are called Shakti Pithas. And those Shakti Pithas are governed or protected by Shiva himself because wherever there is Shiva, there is Shakti. Wherever there is Shakti, there is Shiva. They are never without one another. They are always together. They are Ardhanarishwar ultimately, half and half. So as much as Shiva wants to be in Samadhi all the time, Shakti is always around him. So, and vice versa. As much as Shakti is somewhere, Shiva is always there in some or the other form. In Shakti Peeth, he is in the form of Bhairav. He is governing, he is protecting those temples, he is protecting those planets, and he's also not just protecting that kshetra, not just protecting that area or the temple, and not just protecting Shakti herself, he's also protecting all the devotees who are coming to those temples. So any Shakti Peeth that we go to, usually we will find a Bhairav deity or a Bhairav idol, and he is there to protect us. He's there to protect the kshetra. He's there to also protect the Shakti herself. So those are the 51 Shakti Peeth, and each one of them being also protected by Bhairav himself. After that, I also wanted to get into a little bit of who, what is the vehicle of Bhairav. Usually, in all our sadhanas, we talk about his any deity's appearance and the weapons that they carries. We kind of start to talk about the forms. What does he wear? What does a goddess wear? What does she like? What color does she like? As we start to get a little bit serious into any kind of sadhanas, then we try to understand the form of that person. For example, in a normal world, if you want to, get a favor from someone, right, you will definitely try to develop some kind of a proximity at workplace. If you want to get promoted, you will definitely try to start pleasing your boss a little bit more, or elsewhere, right? If you want to get something out of something, sometimes you try to develop the proximity, and sometimes you try to understand a bit more about that person. Like, what does he like? What should I gift him? What should I give him as a present? What does this person does not like? And when is he usually happy? When should I really interact with him? What are his favorite days? Do you think I should meet him on a Saturday because he usually seems to be in a good mood on a weekend? Or should I call him up on a Friday night? Usually he seems to be in a good mood on a Friday night. So things like that. So similarly for Bhairav Sadhana, I will talk about the sadhana aspect of it in my next lecture, in terms of how one can start sadhana of Bhairav, and what are some of the results and what are some of the benefits one can start seeing from Bhairav Sadhana, and what is the do's and the don'ts of a Bhairav Sadhana. But for now, in my Kal Bhairav Ashtakam series, I did talk about some of the ayudha, or some of the weapons that he carries. Sometimes he carries a damru, a trishul, a skull, uh, um, a spear. There's so many different forms that he carries. Sometimes a danda, like a stick or a rod, and then he also wears a garland of snakes, a yagyopavit of snakes. He wears some little bells, different ways. He carries a moon on his forehead. He has fierce teeth. All that I've already explained in the Kal Bhairav Ashtakam series. Please do make sure you understand every form of how he appears, and what he's carrying. And again, each form of Bhairav is different from other. Kal Bhairav is a little more fearful form. A Batuk Bhairav is a very gentle form, a small boyish form, carries a different kind of set of arms and weapons. And then there are main 8 forms of Kal Bhairav, which is Asitanga, Ruru, Chanda, Krodha, Unmat, Kapala, Bhishna, and Sanhara. And these 8 forms of Kal Bhairav have their own weapons, they have their own appearance, they have their own complexion. Everyone is slightly different from one another. So similarly, we will definitely talk more about the sadhana part of it, in terms of especially the 2 form that we usually do more sadhanas in our line of teachings is Kal Bhairav and Batuk Bhairav. In my next series, I'll definitely talk about what one should and should not do, and what's the easiest way to please Kal Bhairav, food offerings, what prasad we should offer, what are some of the basic mantra that everybody can do, and all those I'll explain. But for now, his one thing I do wanted to touch upon before I end this is his main vehicle. Like for Ganpati, we say it's Mushak. For Durga, we say it's a tiger, it's a lion. Everybody has their own this, right? So for Kal Bhairav, he is usually associated with a dog, especially if it's a black dog, and if one has the opportunity to serve a dog, especially a black dog, you are definitely getting the blessings of Kal Bhairav, that's for sure. So if one works in a rescue place, if one, and selflessly, if one works in adoption place, if one has adopted a dog, or if one is giving food, shelter. I see a lot of people who may not really keep a dog at home, but they take care of the dogs on the streets. They give them vaccination, they give them medicines, they give them food, shelter, everything. So those kind of gentle human beings, I think they are special blessed by Kal Bhairav, because Kal Bhairav's main vehicle is a dog, and that's why a lot of times you may have noticed that a lot of sadhakas who do sadhanas in temples, or who do sadhanas in forests, are often, there will always be a dog around them, and that is my experience as well. I remember with Guruji, when we were kids, we used to go to this temple called Ayappa Temple. It was in Kanjurmarg. This is when we were very little. and it was literally it was a complete it was just a forest. There was nothing there. Uh, there was no people living there. There was no, you know, anything around. It was a very, very remote kind of a isolated kind of a foresty place that Guruji had found. And every weekend he used to go there and do sadhanas. And we also used to go because for us it was more of a camping because we were very small, but we enjoyed the. And there were other, our uncles and all his peers, Guruji's peers, their kids also used to come. So for us, it was more of a camping. We used to do a little bit of sadhana, and then by midnight, everybody used to just kind of start camping, and then of course dozing off in that nice foresty place with snakes and scorpions and all of that around. So it was interesting time. Um, but um, but there was always a dog around. I mean, it was just amazing how anytime, when there is a sadhana that is happening, there is always, especially to few people like my Guruji and a few real good sadhak who were very pure divine souls, there was always a dog. They will come and sit around them and they'll be very loving. So and you can tell that especially when we are doing Shakti sadhana, if a dog is kind of loitering around you, an unknown dog, like it's not somebody who you have kept it, who you have tamed, who you have even done anything. I mean, this is something that my Guruji used to go once in a week, every weekend, once a week to do sadhana. He was not somebody who was really taking care of the dog, or he was not somebody who was giving food to the dog or anything. It was completely unknown dog in that forest and always used to sit around Guruji and me also, and for nothing, like for nothing. I mean, that was amazing. Now that I think of it, he was definitely a form of Bhairav who was there to guard us. And I so vividly remember and I so distinctly remember that because it was a forest and it was full of snakes and scorpions, like I said, it was full of wild animals and critters and everything. There were wild dogs sometimes. Um, we used to do sadhana all night around 4ish, 35ish. We used to start going back home, and it was a long walk upstairs. There was like 100, steps we had to take up to go to that forest kind of a temple where we did the sadhana, and then to come back down where we used to park our car or motorcycle or whatever, right? So when we used to come down, this Bhairav, this dog used to also come down with us and used to always walk few steps ahead of us. Always. We used to always walk few steps ahead of Guruji, and then he used to scan the place around and he used to make sure there is no threat and there is no danger. And then he used to look back at Guruji, hinting him that, oh, you're good to go. You got that PSA pre, get down. And then again, we used to get down slowly. And then this guy was always like 5 steps ahead of Guruji and I and used to just scan and make sure that there is no threat around. So it was really like a epitome or really Bhairav himself who was protecting us because this place was very dangerous place to be honest, right? It was not a place of where you would see people for miles and miles. It was completely uninhabited, like out of nowhere kind of a place that we found it and we used to love doing sadhanas and all. And we did it for many years, and this dog lived for many years and protected us while we were doing sadhanas in that temple. And while we were coming down, like at 4:30 when it's still dark, he used to make sure we all are safe. We came down safe. We entered our vehicles, and only when we used to start our vehicles, we used to go back up. So that was the whole kindness of Kal Bhairav. I mean, he was always around, always watching us, always protecting us. He made sure that our sadhanas went uninterrupted, without any disturbances, without any problems around. So for any Shakti sadhak as well, like if you are getting into Shakti sadhana, especially Ugra sadhana, especially Mahavidyas and all, it is very important to do Bhairav sadhana because Bhairav, first of all, the most number one thing he does is he removes all kind of fear from your life. Bhairav upasaks and Bhairav sadhaks are very fearless. You will see it in their personality, you will see it in their face, you will see it in the way they are. They usually fear nothing. They're very outspoken and not in a bad way, but in a good way because they don't fear anything. And Kal Bhairav sadhaks, it gives you energy, it gives you strength, it gives you physical and mental strength to face any challenges in life. And these sadhaks and these upasaks can never be, they don't, they don't bow down under pressure very easily. They're very, very strong mentally. They don't give up under challenging circumstances. They don't give up under pressure. And and especially for Shakti sadhana, especially for Mahavidya sadhana, you do need that kind of grit and determination, and you do need that kind of a strength, some kind of a very strong willpower, because as you try to get better and better in Shakti sadhanas, as you go through different Mahavidyas, you will definitely face a lot of obstacles, external energies who will try to interrupt you from the sadhanas, who will try to interrupt your sadhanas, who will try to disturb your sadhanas. Sometimes your own people will try to disturb your sadhanas, and they'll create situations where you're not able to complete your sadhanas. And external forces can also create some kind of fear that you will get fearful and you will give up your sadhanas in the middle of it. So, Bhairav, doing Bhairav sadhanas, not once, but several times before getting into Mahavidya sadhana, will ensure that all these preliminary fear and all these kind of little hindrances and little obstacles are all well taken care of, because he will be guarding you as you go from one Mahavidya to other Mahavidya. So you have to develop that strength, you have to develop that foundation, and you have to develop your own base first to be able to absorb that high level of Mahavidya energy. We are talking about Mahavidya, we're not talking about Vidya here. Maha means the greatest of greatest. So to be able to absorb that kind of energy, you need to develop that base, because if your base is poor, if your foundation is poor, and you go develop a big palace or a big palatial thing, it's all going to collapse because your root itself is so poor, right? So unless the root is fully established, unless the base is fully developed and fully established, you will not be able to evolve into deeper and higher levels of sadhana. So make sure you start slowly. You can start with Batuk Bhairav. Like I said, it's a bal form, it's a child form, very easy, very simple to please, and then eventually start doing more Kal Bhairav sadhana, and eventually then people can start getting into Mahavidya sadhana, because Mahavidyas are super energies, and one must need to have that kind of mental strength as well as physical strength to be able to assimilate all that energies within themselves. So that's the whole precursor to Mahavidya sadhana, is to have a very good established Bhairav sadhana and have no fear, and be very happy that we are so fortunate that we are getting to talk about Bhairav, we are getting to learn about Bhairav. We understand the true essence of Bhairav Tattva. It is not the person who we are seeing like the ferocious with a large mustache and with fierceful teeth. All that is great for outer experience to keep evil at bay, but internally he's very pleasing. He's very pleased with his devotees. And one form of Bhairav I also wanted to talk about was Swan Akarshan Bhairav, which we also did a lot of sadhanas with Guruji. Swarna means gold. It means the Bhairav is a form of Bhairav who is a giver of wealth, who can bestow tremendous amount of wealth. So this form of Bhairav, if one gets into that sadhana, especially one who's facing a lot of poverty in their lives. And my Guruji has done this sadhana several times, and that's his experience. He had done this because his Guruji gave him this sadhana, and he saw tremendous results. So definitely, people who need a lot of wealth, people who need a lot of gold and wealth, basically, can also do Swarnaparshan Bhairav sadhana, given that that person has got the right dikshas from their gurus. So of course, results will be seen, and one he will definitely take that person away and all the poverty away from his life. So that was all. And then in the next series, I'll definitely talk a bit briefly about the sadhana part of it, the do's and don'ts, the benefits, and all the good things that we should be doing in Kal Bhairav sadhanas. Okay, so for now, I think we'll give this um, lecture a halt, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Jai Gurudev. Om Param Kripaye Narayanaye Gurubhyo Namah.